I will argue with anybody that I have the best job in the world, right? I get to work on exciting things. As you mentioned, the main building, rebuilding the dome twice in my career. I work on green buildings, things that are just really important, really influential, and really make a difference, right? Something that you can be really proud of. And, not to mention all the awesome buildings and infrastructure that we do here on campus, but, just is a wonderful place to be, and I love my job.
That was Tony Polotto, the Senior Director of Construction and Quality Assurance in the Office of Facilities Design and Operations. He brings years of experience in a number of areas to our conversation about sustainability and green roofs on campus. I'm Natalie Davis Miller, and this is NDWorks. Welcome to the NDWorks Podcast, Tony.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me in here today. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Okay, Tony, so the last time we had an opportunity to talk and kind of work together was during the regilding of the Golden Dome and Our Lady, and that was really a cool event at that time. So now we're talking about green roofs. How is this part of your role, separate and apart from this other thing?
Yeah. So many people on campus that know me or know my name or have heard what we do here in the office always associate me with the guy that just builds the buildings here or renovates the buildings and is in charge of that entire program. But I'm very proud, and it's not known widely across campus, that I am a registered roof consultant, designer. So back in 2003, I was assigned as the gatekeeper of maintaining the entire campus environment. So I'm also a registered exterior wall consultant and waterproofing consultant as well. So those are my design credentials that I take care of the building envelopes on campus. So windows, doors, masonry, waterproofing, basements, and roofs. And so I take that very personally, I've taken a lot of ownership into that. And so I put my arms wrapped around that. If it involves anything with roofing, slate, membrane, green roofs, I've taken the leadership of overseeing those projects.
That is so cool, and I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we even get to having green roofs be a thing at Notre Dame?
Yeah, so there's a great story about that. And first, I have to say, I will argue with anybody that I have the best job in the world, right? I get to work on exciting things. As you mentioned, the main building, rebuilding the dome twice in my career. I work on green buildings, things that are just really important, really influential, and really make a difference, right? Something that you can be really proud of. And, not to mention all the awesome buildings and infrastructure that we do here on campus, but, just is a wonderful place to be, and I love my job.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, to think that you go from something up really high, from the Golden Dome to working on these green roofs and, really two different causes, right?
Yeah.
So we have these green roofs and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So why do we have them? Why are they even here? And, I don't know if other colleges do it or not, but why are we doing this?
What a great question. I will tell you, I vividly remember how green roofs came to be on campus. Notre Dame, I think, has always done a great job of building sustainable buildings, right? We've got slate roofs and brick and masonry, buildings that are designed to last 100 years minimum or even more. We've got buildings quite older than that on campus. But I remember a conversation in 2009 with Father John Jenkins at the time and our Vice President, John Affleck Graves, about saying, hey, Notre Dame is doing the right things, but I'm not certain that we are communicating it the right way. What are we telling our faculty, staff, students, and the world about how we're building sustainable on campus? And that started a big movement. That's when we started to get into our LEED certified buildings. I believe that was the time that we created an Office of Sustainability to help tell our story. And it was the time that Father John and John Affleck Graves basically said, we need to step up our sustainability profile. We need to be leaders. We are Notre Dame. We need to be leaders in the sustainable and green movement going forward. and challenging the industry. And that spawned the entire green movement that we see today on campus and how we do so well. So I think that was the initializer. And then when Father Bob took office and Shannon Cullinan as our executive vice president, they have championed and supported this mission probably to the next level. And that's where our green roofs had come from.
Okay. So you mentioned LEED, and I believe it's like an acronym, or LEED. For our listeners, what does that mean? What is that?
It's leadership in energy efficient design, essentially. And it's basically building a building that's healthy and sustainable and will last a long time and people can enjoy being in. And so it's governed by the USGBC, the United States Green Building Council.
Okay, so it's a distinction then
that you get. Okay. That's right.
Can anyone go up on a green roof? How do people see it?
That's another good question. I will tell you that although the roofs are currently not accessible to the general public for safety reasons more than anything, they are viewable from all other areas, from hallways, lecture halls, classrooms, offices, and neighboring buildings. What you have to realize here is the buildings themselves that have green roofs are older buildings that have been re-roofed, and we added vegetative roof systems to them. The problem with that is they're not safe to access. They don't have parapet walls or guardrails around the perimeter that are safe, like stairways. We certainly wouldn't want somebody falling off the edge or tripping on the roof itself. So the roofs we've installed to date are mainly aesthetic in nature. We're hoping there's opportunities when we build new buildings in the future that we're going to be able to incorporate some accessible green roofs in those areas.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. The green roof's really important. The exposure to plants and flowers, nature, it helps our students. It heals our bodies. There's studies on this. It's biophilia. It's basically how your body reacts and your mind reacts to being in nature. And so, as we spend time in nature, nature has a grounding effect. We all need it. These things are really important to all of us.
That's cool. And there's a lot of space out there for it, too, for that matter. So I imagine it would help with bees or birds or, that type of nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I plan on chatting about some of the benefits of the green roofs and the biophilia is and the pollinator plants are sure one of those.
So what's it take to become a green roof? Are there like certain criteria, like it has to be, so wide, so deep, or water running off? I mean, not every roof can be a green roof, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yes, that is absolutely correct. So let me describe a green roof because there's really two types, and it's important for people to understand what those two types are. There's a garden roof, which is called an intensive roof system. It's basically unlimited soil depth. You can plant trees and shrubs and gardens and corn if you wanted to harvest things, or just have, a living lawn system on a roof itself. That takes a lot of structure to be able to hold those types of weight. Again, in our existing buildings, it's one of the main considerations is how much weight can our roofs hold, especially on an existing building. And none of them so far have been able to hold an intensive roof system, a deep garden roof system. So the second system is called an extensive system, and it's basically got a soil profile of about 2.5 to 4 inches thick in a tray, which is wonderful. So you put the tray down, and that's your final product. And that's what we have normally across campus. It's a very hardy system, and that's what we've used on our buildings to date.
So you have 2 inches or so of soil?
That's correct.
Okay, so then you're doing smaller plants or more ground covering or things with more shallow roots, then I take it?
Yeah. So the system that we use for the actual green roof is called sedum. They're hardy, succulent plants, mostly low growing, And we can have some accent plants of clumps that grow a little bit higher just for some texture. And there's different types of sedums. I think there's about 40 different types of sedums that really do well in our climate. And we can blend them together for different colors. So they flower at different times of the year in spring, summer, and fall, and really give the appealing visual effect. They don't grow very tall. They grow very dense like a ground covering. So, it helps prevent weeds from growing up. And they come in different colors. So even if they're not flowering, you look and you see reds and blues and yellows, and it gives a roof a really clear differentiation.
How many green roofs do we have?
So to date, we've got 10 green roofs. We've got Morris Inn and the Joyce Center. What we refer to as CCP, Campus Crossroads Project, which are really 3 different buildings, which is O'Neill Family Music Hall and Duncan Student Center and Corbett Family Hall. And then we've got Alumni Hall. We put a small addition on Alumni Hall a couple of years ago, and we added a nice decorative green roof to that addition. We've got the Law Building, just a small roof on the Law Building that we added. And we added 3 buildings last year that incorporate those 10, and that was Rockney Memorial. And then we've got the South Dining Hall. We did the 2 dining hall wings, and Mendoza College of Business.
So how many square feet of green roofs do we have on campus?
Yeah, it's a lot. So just those projects alone, we've got a little over 212,000 square feet, which is about 4.3 acres.
Okay. And for people to imagine, what would that look like? 4.3 acres. I mean, parking lot, football field, the stadium, or what would that look like?
It's a great question. So an acre of land is 43,560 square feet. That's kind of hard to visualize. What does that mean? So to put in context, a football field is roughly 48,000 square feet. So just a little bit over an acre. So we've got about 4.5 acres, 4.5 football fields, 5 football fields of green roof on the campuses to date.
I'm just curious, do you know of other colleges or universities that are doing anything like this? Yeah. Or is it mostly private business?
Yeah, I think it depends on the geographical area that you're in. I know that there's a lot of green roofs in Chicago. As a matter of fact, I think it's mandatory as they're building high rises and buildings in Chicago that they have to soften the architecture and add green roofs at this point. But to rural areas that we're in, they're not as popular as what you may think. We have a lot of peer friends in other universities that have sampled some green roofs, but haven't taken the full-fledged commitment that Notre Dame has. So I think from what I have researched and known, we are certainly taking the leadership role on the green roof aspect.
That's cool and not surprising, right?
Yeah,
not surprising for Notre Dame.
I think it was Father John's vision. That's right.
What are some of the benefits of having green roofs? So
the benefits of having green roofs, there's a lot of them. I will tell you, they meet our sustainability goals. Notre Dame being the leader in sustainability, we embrace green roofs. And our Financial Stewardship Commission, our motivation stems from our whole list of goals of carbon neutrality, water conservation that these green roofs contribute all to, sustainable building design, and green roof infrastructure, integration of sustainability into operations, research, and education, and basically the best possible human habitat for our faculty, staff, and students. The benefits of a roof itself stem from stormwater detention. I'll start with that. When it rains every single day or in the spring, we're retaining much of that stormwater on the roof in that soil profile, 2.5 inches to 4 inches. It's a modified soil. It's mainly made up of expanded shale and some dirt for lightweight, can hold a lot of water. So the roofs will prohibit stormwater runoff into our stormwater systems. It retains them onto the roof. Second is the carbon sequestration. So it'll pull carbon out of the atmosphere, and just like a tree or grass would do. It reduces the heat island effect. So as cities and universities become more densely populated and they've got a lot of hard surfaces like asphalt and concrete, those items heat up during the summertime and are radiated back into the atmosphere. Green roof cools that area down, right? So the heat island effect is greatly reduced. And basically it helps cool the atmosphere because just like any kind of garden or lawn, you have evaporation of the water that's in the soil that will actually cool the plants and the substructure around the roof system. A roof in the middle of summer that's 85 degrees outside will become 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on what color the roof is. We have white roofs and beige roofs and black roofs. So obviously the black roofs will be a lot hotter than the white roof. And this will bring that temperature way down to under 100 degrees for the green roof itself. So that is absolutely a benefit.
So then it would make sense then that the buildings will be cooler and it's more energy efficient if you're trying to cool a building in the summer.
That's right. So that's the next big benefit is protecting the infrastructure. So I'll start with the length of how long the roof will last. A typical membrane roof will last 20 years. That's what you get a warranty for. And then if you look up an industry standard on how long a roof will last, it'll be 20 years all day long. We hope that we design our roofs for 30 years. We add a green roof to it, and we know we'll get 50 to 60 years out of those roofs. We have roofs, green roofs on that have been on for 10 years, and they are still looking perfect. And here's what happens. When you replace a roof, you're putting a new membrane system on, then you're putting the green roof on. If you didn't have the green roof, that roof is constantly bombarded by the atmosphere. 365 days a year, it is being subject to snow, ice, heat, rain, that expansion and contraction of thermal forces coefficient on the actual membrane itself. You put a green roof on, all that is mitigated. So no more UV degradation from the sun, which really kills anything that you have outside. It protects the membrane from thermal shock. Say it's 160 degrees, temperature of the roof, 85-degree day, and it rains. That rain is going to cool that roof from 160 degrees to 55 degrees in a matter of minutes. That is awful thermal shock for the roof system. And you imagine how many times a year that happens. Protecting it with the green roof stops all that, right? So you eliminate the UV, you eliminate the thermal shock, and then you eliminate the mechanical hazards you have from people working on air handlers or walking on the roof and dropping tools or any branches flying off of trees and hitting a roof and damaging it. It acts as a protective membrane. So we are really comfortable to say, the green roofs will extend the life and the infrastructure in addition to the heating and cooling benefit that we have for the roofs itself as well. Being insulating and heating and cooling benefits on the inside of the roof. It supports biodiversity. We kind of chatted about this earlier. So if you go up to any of our roofs, especially the Joy Center, you're going to see bees and insects. You're going to see birds. Last spring when we did our roof inspections, we saw ducks nesting up on the roof itself. And so, the habitat is its own environment that you wouldn't see if it was just a regular roof. And when you have 5 acres of that, think of what we're doing to the nature and the diversity of our diversity of our plants and animals on the campus. And then it's supporting society. I mentioned that before. It's a human wellness and performance aspect of it is they're just beautiful, right? And it has that wellness effect. And when you're looking outside the window in your office and you just see the greens and the plants and you see the bees and the animals and the ducks, and we've even seen squirrels up on the roof, and how they get up there, I have no idea, but they find ways, right? So it's their own, their habitat now.
They'll probably tell the other squirrels. Let me tell you about this place.
Yeah, that's right. I got this awesome place.
So cool.
That's right.
You talk about people, I don't want to say classrooms, but do students ever have an opportunity to go there? Or I don't know if there's any research or anything like that. I don't know. I'm just curious if they can use it in any way.
Yeah. It's not, the green roofs aren't part of the current Notre Dame curriculum, but there's growing interest. And now that the word has been getting out over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, people have a lot of interest. So we are constantly giving tours. People want to see these places, right? And so we can give a safe tour, just go up into the stadium, the Campus Crossroads building, and look out onto the Joy Center. Now you can look out onto Mendoza, all seen from those buildings. You look right out,
That's
3
cool.
feet from the windows, and you can see the green roofs. And then if you really want the experience, we can bring a small group of people with safety equipment and get them onto the Joy Center and just let them walk around. And just an amazing experience, and it's a growing experience. But, what we hope is that this opens the door as it becomes more popular, and it can be studied for Notre Dame. So, for instance, architectural and engineering, this is a big push and a big profile, and something that needs to be explored. Climate and water systems, ecology, environmental science, sustainability and sociology. And a matter of fact, we're so interested in this that the College of Engineering, led by Wade McGillis, has got research students teaming with our department now to do research on the actual green roofs. How much water can these roofs actually hold? We want to be able to document that. What is the insulation benefit? What's the temperature above the roof? What's the temperature below the roof? How cool is it compared to a regular membrane roof? Let's now put our money where our mouth is and produce the data that we're claiming that these roofs provide. So we're really excited about that. That started last fall. And so we hope to start generating some information over the next couple of years. But that is what we're excited about, is now the university is saying, hey, we want to be part of this, right? And we have students that will research this. It'll be part of the curriculum. So we're excited to see where this goes.
I don't know if I asked you this, but when do we get our first green roof? When do we start doing this?
Yeah. So right after that commitment from Father John and John F. Graves back in 2009, we had just started the renovation of the Morris Inn. So we had torn down much of the building. We had built the new building. And we said, this is the first good application that we can put a green roof. And how awesome would it be to have that green roof right outside the rooms, right? So when people were looking outside, they didn't look at a dirty black roof, right? An EPDM membrane roof. Let's look at it and have it as a nice green fluff roof system. And it has thrived ever since. So it was installed right when they finished the building, and it looks awesome.
That's a great opportunity to do it then when you were already working on it.
That's right.
So you said you get to look out and you see this beautiful green roof. And when I think about a roof, I think about, I think you said like air handlers, or like maybe there's air conditioning, or, other, I don't know what they are, but there are things on roofs. How do you work around that with the green roof?
Yeah.
Are they, I'm assuming they're not there, but where are they? I don't know where they go.
Yeah, so there is mechanical and electrical equipment that sometimes has to be on the roof. And the Joy Center is a great opportunity to reflect on that. And what we do is it's thoughtful design. So it's not just throwing a bunch of trays on there. For instance, when we did the green roof on the Joy Center, we made it look like a quad. It was so large that we put walkways, so stone walkways in there, and we made it look, if you were looking from an aerial vision down, you would think that was part of a quad, part of a regular landscape and system. And so being able to frame those and protect those air handling systems with the landscaping and with the accessible pathways that we get on to keep people off the roof and make them look like sidewalks, if you will, is a really important concept. We also have different segments of different colors of sedum and different types of plants to give it visual interest, because it is so large. We didn't want it just one color and one style. So we literally have different flowers and different segments of that roof to make it look like it was truly landscaped like a quad is. And so every building that we do, it's an actual design and very thoughtful at that.
Okay, so you talked about like the way it's laid out in the landscaping. How is that maintained? I'm not picturing Tony Polotto up on the roof with a rake and a shovel, but seriously, like, I don't know how often it has to be maintained because of the type of plants. Is it easier to maintain that you don't have to do a whole lot with it?
Yeah, great question. We actually were really aggressive with our maintenance program right up front because we didn't want to ruin an investment. And think about your yard. If you go, a few weeks or even a month or two, and you haven't had time to get out and weed your landscaping or your garden at home, what does it become? It propagates and is all weeds, right? And it will ruin your weekend going out and trying to fix it, or even if it can be fixed. And so right from the beginning, we developed a policy to go up on a roof 3 times a year. It's first thing in the spring and do some pre-weeding. We make sure that the roofs are not damaged, do the trimming. And the beautiful thing about these sedums are you can trim the edges and trim areas. And if there's any bare spots from like snow or ice damage, you just throw those trimmings in that bare spot and they automatically will just re-root. So you can fill in spots very, very well. But we'll go in and we'll do a pre-treatment in the spring, weeding, get it ready for summer. We'll normally come in the summertime and weed as well. And then we'll do it lastly in the fall to prepare for the winter season and make sure that everything is ready for winter. Now, the way this typically works is the sedum is really dense, as I mentioned, almost like ground cover in your landscaping at home. And so it really acts as its own mulch for weed prevention. So our key is get those weeds when they're small and little. So those 3 weedings a year only take a few days per roof. Even on the Joy Center, I think there's a couple guys up there for 3 or 4 days to do almost 2 acres of roof. So if we keep on top of it, it becomes not a large chore. If you were to let it go, it could be detrimental, right? It could kill off your sedum plants if they grow into big clumps, or just could be labor intensive to take care of. But other than weeding, they're pretty self-sustainable. Joy Center, as I mentioned, Morrison has been on the roof for 8, 9, 10 years, and so they've been thriving.
Okay, Tony, we've talked a lot about the green roofs and how they came to be and all the benefits from having green roofs. So what's the future look like? Will there be other green roofs on campus beyond the 10 we have already?
I think so. There's a lot of momentum here and a lot of support and just a lot of good that comes from this. We've got the administration's full support. Just to give you some perspective here, we've got 6 million square feet of roofing on campus. And it's almost divided 50-50. It's very close, almost 3 million square feet of sloped roof, which is a slate roof, which is very sustainable in itself. I mean, we've got slate roofs on campus that are well over 100 years old at this point, the original roof. And then we have nearly 3 million square feet of low slope roof, which is the membrane roof that could be green roofs. So as you can imagine, we're just a little over 200,000 square feet right now out of 3 million. We have a lot of opportunities for green roofs. In my opinion, this will be a decades-long mission to slowly get these converted. What's important to realize is you just can't go throw a green roof on any building at this point. It's got to be a planned system. You don't want to put a green roof on a 20-year-old roof that's already at the end of its life cycle. And so it's important to us to say, as these roofs come available to be replaced, renewed, if they're at the end of their life, we design a new roof system that will last the longevity of the green roof itself, and then we'll add the green roof to it at that time. And so we wouldn't ever just want to go carte blanche and replace or put green roofs on the entire campus. It'll be probably 2 or 3 roofs a year at our normal pace of typical replacement far into the future. Now, what is it? What are we looking for when we do a green roof? So all roofs aren't eligible, if you will. So the first thing we talked about earlier is you got to analyze the structure. How much weight can it hold? How much dirt can we have? Typically, that's been around 10 pounds a square foot. So it's that light system. It's that extensive system we talked about before. Then we have to analyze, can we access it safely for the maintenance? Those 3 times a year that we have to get up on that roof and maintain the roof, is it going to be safe for those workers? And what kind of safety equipment is required? And then third is just access alone. There's some roofs that would be very, very difficult to access that we wouldn't want to put a green roof on because it's just difficult to get to. Think of a portico at the front of a building that you would need a 20-foot ladder to get to. We don't want to have people put up ladders to access a roof. That's just kind of a dangerous situation. So we want them accessible, we want them safe, and we want them to be able to structurally hold the roof system itself, and then we can maintain them properly into the future.
So, Tony, this is really interesting, and I'm imagining how these roofs come about. How do you get the materials up there on the roof to get everything started?
I should have described that earlier. So the green roof system isn't what you would probably imagine. And this is what most people imagine. This is what I would have imagined 30 years ago before I fully understood them, that you would just go and you just put dirt down on top of the roof, and then you would plant or you would transplant the sedum. In a garden roof, that is what you would do when you have a roof that's 1 foot or 2 foot thick of soil and you're going to plant trees and shrubs on. But for our extensive roofs, the small roofs, the green roofs, it's a tray system. So it comes in a big tray that's about 2 foot long by 1.5 feet wide. It looks like a big egg crate, if you will. And that's filled with the engineered soil that's very light. And then the sedum is placed into those cells. And then they're lifted onto the roof in big custom-made baskets that you could lift 50 trays at a time in. Then the guys will take them off the cart and go put them into place. And typically it's almost like a puzzle that is actually diagrammed out on paper to say these plants go in this sector, again, to give you the variety and incorporate the design that we were talking about. So it's very strategic. They come in semis, covered and then unloaded, lifted to the roof, and then disbanded from there.
Thank you so much for sharing everything you know about the green roofs that we have here on Notre Dame's campus. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
The NDWorks Podcast is produced by the Office of Internal Communications. We're the team that brings you NDWorks Weekly, the NDWorks newspaper, the Week at ND, and a passion for sharing clear, concise, and interesting information with faculty and staff of the University of Notre Dame. We'll be back next time with more news and stories by and for Notre Dame employees. I'm Natalie Davis Miller. Thanks for listening to NDWorks.